Now we're going to talk specifically about users and how we gauge, users at their like different maturity levels with a product. Like, are users smart? Are they dumb? Well, I don't know. We're going to talk to Chris Kolb about this. Where I'm sure you can see the subtitle down there. All users are stupid. I'm sure we're going to learn exactly what that means as Chris gets started. But what I want to tell you about him is that he's the co-founder and chief design officer at Wansome Design. But more interesting than that, not only is he a designer, but he's a business psychologist by academic trade here. And so I'm really fascinated to know, just when you get into the psychology of product design and development, what sort of insights does he have based on his academic training that would tell us, or like help us glean insights into the whole product development process. So with that, I'm going to welcome Chris to the stage. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Jeff.
It's
Hi,
nice
how are
to
you?
meet you. Oh, it's so great to meet you. I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Thanks, I'm great. Thanks for having me. By the
Oh,
way, I'm cheering you on for the Flexbox poster in the back there.
oh,
I,
thank
I
you.
really I really love that. I think everyone who's programming HTML and CSS knows that cheat sheet from I think
Oh,
csstricks.com. I think, yeah.
thank you.
I really
Yes,
love it.
yes. It's I've got the grid one just on the other side of me, that just not
I
hung
can
up.
never remember the grid one, but the Flexbox one is
Oh,
really dear to my heart.
yeah, the Flexbox is the absolute classic one,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, thank you so much. That's like a source of pride for us over at CSS Tricks. But yeah, I'm really excited
Can
to
be.
hear from you because you've got this like attention grabbing title, "All users are stupid." We know that's probably not
Yeah.
the case, but
Oh no, totally. No,
oh, totally the case.
obviously.
Well, and believe me,
In a
I'm.
way, let's say in a way, in psychology we always say it depends, and maybe I'll shed some light on that,
Well,
what I
you
mean
can
by
say
that.
what my mom says. It's all relative.
Yes, for sure it is, yeah.
Absolutely. So, and I mean, I might be stupid as potential user number one, in all contexts. So I'll be really interested to hear about this. But I'll go ahead and turn the mic over to you because don't want to hear me ramble and preamble on and on. So I'll just let you take it on from here and tell us why all users are stupid.
Thank you so much, and you could be so kind to give me just a quick feedback that my screen is on, because I'm on a
Oh,
single
it
screen
is on.
device and it
Yes,
is
there,
on. That's
there
very
we go.
nice. So hello everyone, thanks for having me. I'm not seeing you, I'm not hearing you. That's a bit of a new one for me, actually. Normally I'm used to direct audience interaction. We still will be interacting a little bit, so but bear with me just a second. So as Jeff said, hi, I'm Chris. I've been a designer for more than 25 years now, mostly in digital products and digital software, and those two combined, let's say. And yeah, as Jeff said, I've also been studying and teaching business psychology for more than 15 years. And yeah, bringing those two together, which are really close to each other, as I experienced. And also about 16 years ago, I founded Wahnsinn Design, which is loosely translated to madness. And I know in English it's not the most positive of terms, but in German, Wahnsinn means something awesome as well. So it's like awesome madness, let's say. So, and yeah, we design digital products in all shapes and forms for every kind of company. So, and today, reflecting on product design, I really don't want to go into too much broad depth. I just want to share three things I learned over these 25 years in design and psychology with you. And these three things are really simple. The first thing is people are smart. The second thing is users are stupid. And the third thing is that we can be heroes. So yeah, why don't we just start with the first one? People are smart. And I want to prove it to you, with you, to you, in a collaborative effort. And that's a bit like tricky because I'm going blind now, blind and deaf, more or less. But you bear with me, let's try that. I want you, because no one is seeing you, I want you to sing with me. So try it out, even if it's only in your mind. Try it out. So ba 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 ba. Okay, so far so good. Now the second one. Ba 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 ba. Okay, I think I even heard you. So for some of you now it worked, for some maybe don't. But if you're in an auditorium, like the people who didn't really sing along, they can like duck, and everyone else is singing, and it works. If the following happened, then it worked. So you were singing two notes with me, like according to my hand wavy signals here, and then I waved over here. And what happened then? You didn't really know what the sound was, but some of you, or I hope most of you, probably improvised. You heard the first two, like ba ba, and then ba, because that's the finishing line of this three note increase. But even if it worked, you didn't know exactly what to do. So if you did the right thing, you improvised. You made an educated guess. You were forced with a problem. What do I sing if Chris waves around here? And you solved it instantly. I know some of you didn't, but most people actually, especially in a group context, can do that. Yeah, because we humans, we people, we evolved to be really great problem solvers. We can be faced with problems and we solve them sometimes in milliseconds, sometimes really, really quickly without even overthinking it. But we can also solve problems, obviously, by thinking it. So if we were not smart, we wouldn't really be here because we are not gifted in many other areas of like biology. We are not really, really fast. We cannot survive in huge heights or depth. We are not really living very long, yeah, and we don't have really sharp claws. So we needed our problem solving skills, our intelligence to as an evolutionary benefit, and that's why we are here, why we're descended from people who became ever smarter, and now we're here. So that's really pretty much step one done. But what about this? Yeah, maybe some of you have seen it, but yeah, what is going on with this guy here? If we are so smart, what do we do with when we are faced with bad products or bad software? For example, websites like this, or really confusing multi-room audio setups. I know probably most of you have struggled with this at some time in the past. What about software, like for example, business software like this, or whatever this is? You know, what kind of interface, what kind of product control interface this is? How do we solve problems with it like this? I would really like to ask you, maybe Jeff, can you jump in? Are you there? Or maybe I surprised
Oh,
him.
I am here.
Oh yeah, great. What do you think? How do smart people solve the problem of bad software?
Well, you just make it better.
Yeah, obviously as designers we can, but what if you're a user and you're faced with bad software? What do you think?
Oh, you probably either improvise or you complain about it.
Yeah, you do it a lot. I know
Ah,
I'm putting you on the spot, and I
yeah,
just wanted to have a little feedback because I feel so
yeah.
alone here in front of my in front of my PC. But you know what we really do is most of the time we avoid them. Yeah, we just don't use bad products. So that's obviously almost it's always the easiest way. If we're faced with a bad product, thank you thank you, Jeff.
Oh,
Um,
my pleasure.
we just don't use it. Yeah, it's and that's, for example, if we talk about product design, I always talk about the zero hypothesis of product design is don't compare yourself with yourself in the past, don't compare yourself with other products, compare yourself with non-usage. because for people the easiest way to use a product is just avoid it and not use it, and most of the time it's way easier, and we see that all the time. For example, as a digital product in the late aughts, in the early 10s, we have had this first wave of digitization, I hate that word, in hospitals and in many different contexts as well, obviously, but in hospitals it was quite bad because we have these kind of products here over here which look bad and work even worse and not really flexible, and they try to replace the physical patient data here on the right. And what happened because of that is because the software was so bad, the products were so bad, so slow and not flexible enough, that the hospital started to use both the digital patient file and the physical files. And now we have the situation, at least in Germany, it's quite horrible, that you never know where to look. Is the data about this patient in the digital file or is it in the analog file? So you always have to be accessing both, and it takes a lot of time. And so overall, about 70% of the time spent by the professionals in hospitals is for organizational tasks. 70% is not spent in front and with the patient. That's too much, obviously. So that's why probably digitization became a bad rap, and people try to avoid it just by using the analog file, and we see that everywhere. So people are actually really smart, even they avoid bad products because they recognize them when they see them. So I know these interfaces were a bit scary, so just as a quick calm down, a good boy or a good girl here, just to relax your nerves and mine as well, before we continue. I love dogs, by the way. Part 2, users are stupid. And what do I mean by that? I want to tell you a quick tale of 2 apps. Just imagine the following. On the right, you see here, maybe you have that in your where you live as well. We have in Germany, we have these ride sharing services where I can pretty quickly rent a car. It was car to go. It was called Share Now. Now it's free to move or something. They get renamed every once in a while. We got Miles in Germany as well. And I don't mean ride hailing like Uber or something like that, but actually like renting a car, but on demand. Yeah. So, and normally if I need a car, I'm pretty relaxed, obviously. But now imagine I'm having to use an app to rent a car, for example, for the free to move here, as a if there's an emergency. I cannot just call a number, but let's say we have this emergency app now, digital product to call an ambulance if I need one. And I use the app and I say, okay, here I am. Oh no, sorry. First, I need to register. Okay, and then I go through the registration process. Okay, I need a double opt-in with my mobile number. Okay, now can you take a picture of your surroundings to see where you are to order the ambulance? Yeah, okay, let's go take a picture. And all the while there's this emergency and I'm getting really stressed, and then, okay, can you take a picture of the ambulance while it came to confirm that it's clean and maybe there are no damages? Yeah, okay, come on, I just want to go to the hospital. Okay, we can think about it some more. What is right in one context, because I even have to take pictures of the car from the outside to confirm there are no damages, for example, are maybe not correct in another context. It all boils down to context and a couple of other environmental factors, let's call them. Calling an ambulance or ordering one, more or less, is way different from renting a car when I have some time. So that users are stuck in what I call the circle of stupidity. And these are just 6 of the factors that I want to focus on today, because there are many more, but those 6 I want to focus your attention on for now. And the first one obviously is context. What am I doing and where am I doing it? Yeah, am I trying to order a rentable or rent a car, or is there an emergency and I'm really stressed at the moment, or I'm really even impaired in some way? Am I at work in my office in a quiet environment, or am I at home giving an online presentation which is maybe a bit more stressful situation. So, for example, I'm not at my smartest at the moment because I'm talking to my computer. So context matters a lot. Whether I'm able to have the full access of my psychological resources or not. Obviously, time as well. Do I have time to sit down, relax, take a look at the product, and figure out what it wants me to do? Or am I in some kind of time constraint situation? That doesn't necessarily has to be an emergency, but maybe I'm strapped for time in another way. We are all strapped for time all the time, and maybe figuring out the product in front of me is not exactly priority one on my agenda. So maybe it should take some time less than I expect, even. Yeah. Then, of course, attention. Can I focus on what I'm using? Uh, or do I need to focus on something else? In our emergency example, maybe I need to take care of someone. Yeah. And it's not only calling an ambulance. We have also these public defibrillators, like these where you can help someone with a heart condition. And imagine how easy those have to be, because I don't have time. It's a stressful context, and my attention is also shared with a patient or with someone I try to help. Of course, almost all products that we use at all times are not in a situation where we focus completely on it. If we, even in, I don't know, in a kitchen, we are talking to someone else while handling hot pans, for example. I use a software shared and looking on a screen together with someone. I share the experience, so I have my attention on both. Yeah, we are not always focused completely on what is in front of us. The next one is cognitive costs, and that's a construct of psychology which is which I want to go into depth a little bit more. And the first thing we need to understand there for cognitive costs is that there is no multitasking. Multitasking, at least regarding humans, is pretty much a myth. We are single task individuals. We can only focus on one thing at a time. What is multitasking is actually switching between different points of focus. And whenever we switch from a main task to a subtask, for example, the program, I want to rent a car, but now I actually first have to enter my credentials, or I first have to take pictures of it, and I don't want to focus on renting a car. Maybe I want to focus on going somewhere. So I'm switching between these modes of operation in my mind, and whenever I switch, there occurs like a cost. Yeah, and that's cognitive cost. Whenever I switch, whenever I'm distracted, I need to focus on something else. I'm doing two things at the same time. All the time, switching focus takes effort. Yeah, it takes a toll on the user. So imagine using more complicated products, business applications, um, op- operating an airplane, for example. Yeah, a lot of different subtasks, a lot of different subroutines I need to do. We got like hundreds of these steps, and switching always occurs at a cost, and so that gets ever more hard to do. And it reduces my cognitive capacity, it reduces my energy level, it distracts. Yeah, I need to change focus, and on and on. um, what I want to say is people have different inclinations to multitask. There are people of all kinds which are really good at switching, so the costs of switching are a little less maybe for them. Maybe they're more used to it, but overall, switching always has a cost associated to it. Yeah. The next one is mental load. I always feel like I don't need to talk a lot about that, but because all of you probably feel mental load all the time in your daily lives, and I'm sorry, and we all do. Obviously, we are not. It's also a thing of focus and attention. Like, there is a lot going on in our lives. Like, using a product should be the least of our worries, because we need to focus on other stuff. Yeah. So depending on the metal load, if I have more on my shoulders, I have less resources left to focus on a product. If I got less to do, obviously maybe I'm a bit better off. And finally, here, for now at least, there is experience. And obviously maybe that's the first part that you think about it. Yeah, if I'm a new user, maybe I have a harder time to use a product than an experienced one. But um, from my experience and sometimes looking from psychology as well, it's a bit more complicated than that. So I've got this little high fidelity chart here, which charts stupidity on the left hand side. So the higher we are up, the more stupid I am as a user. The lower it is, the smarter I am. And then experience and time go increasing to the right, obviously. So when I start, I'm a fresh user. I encounter something I've never did before. Especially if I'm using products in the public space where I cannot train on them. I just confront them. Yeah. Um, my stupidity is pretty high because I have no prior experience. Yeah, I need to orient myself first, and then over time, if I have time, I can gather experience and I get less stupid. I'm getting more smart and more smart, and at this point, I would say I'm a professional. Yeah, I learned the product. I got better with it. I know how to navigate these apps. I'm really good at working with it, for example. Yeah, that's getting normal for me. But what happens then is maybe a bit unintuitive, but I'm optimizing. People are also we are solving problems and we are optimizing ourselves. And I'm optimizing on a specific pattern of product. And what that means is like I'm automating more and more processes that I do when using this product. I'm knowing the exact, for example, tap patterns on a kind of app. What happens if I push there, push there? But things don't remain the same. Products change, and when they change, like we are as users, we get less and less flexible the more time, the more optimized we are. So actually our stupidity increases because we are more rigid in our thinking. Yeah, people know exactly how Wingardium Leviosa works to get the most out of their SAP digital software, but if something changes, they are more and more easily confused. So actually over time we can get stuck in our ways and increase in stupidity in that way. Obviously, I'm using the term broadly here, but yeah. So all of these together, coming in different ways, in different weights, giving the overall context for a user. How can we expect our users at all to be the perfect, pristine users that we sometimes imagine them to be? We actually need to think about that our users are in different contexts, stressful, not stressful, new, foreign, many different contexts. They have more or less time. They have to share their attention. There occurs cognitive costs because of task switching. They have a mental load, and they have different varying degrees of experience. So, okay, that's why I think all users are stupid. He also thinks that. But now we have a problem. Obviously, people are smart, users are stupid. How can we square that off? That's not fair. That's not working out. So psychology has an answer for that. Here, Susan Fiske and Shelley Taylor, even in the 90s, said people are limited in their capacity to process information, so they take shortcuts whenever they can. Well, that's interesting. Shortcuts. That means people are smart even when they are not. And how do they do that? Well, they do that by using different kinds of thinking systems, because there's not only one way to think, there are actually two. So there's not only, on the one hand, this system that we use, which is active and logical and conscious, where we sit ourselves down, focus on something, take time, yeah, gather experience, and are really, really in a controlled environment. But Daniel Kahneman called that system 2 in his pretty popular books, Thinking Fast and Slow. He called that system 2. There's actually another system of thinking, and which is automatic, emotional, unconscious, affective, it's called in psychology. And you can guess, you're smart, you can guess how it's called. Obviously, it's called system 1. And the thing about these two systems, why do we even have them, is because system 2 is really, really slow. I need time, I need focus, I need concentration and attention for that. But system one is really, really fast. We can do it in a moment's notice. Think back to the singing part of the presentation. Those of you who did it, you used system one to improvise the third note, and it worked. And that's so fast, we don't even recognize that we are actually thinking. But obviously it's still the brain doing the lifting there, but it's completely unconscious, and it's blazingly fast. And because it's so fast, we use system one all of the time. Because in psychology we even say we got the cognitive miser, it's called. So in Germany it's called kognitiver Geizhals. um, we don't like to use system 2 because it's too much effort. We like to use the shortcuts whenever they're possible, and system 1 is our shortcut. It's much faster, it takes much less resources out of us, and we don't even have to think about it. We can run on more or less automatic, so we use that all of the time. You use that, depending on our focus, how we look at it, millions of times each day, like throughout the day. Today, I don't know what time is it at you, throughout the day, going forward or behind you, standing up, brushing your teeth, making you some food. You don't overthink that all the time, hopefully, but you are on automatic. You use system 1 all the time, and I can show that to you pretty easily now as well. So now, again, I don't see you. Normally, I would have you pointing, and could count that. You see a lot of circles here with L and R, and L stands for lifting your left hand, and R stands for lifting your right hand. So if you read an R, right hand, read an L, left hand. I don't know if it's mirroring over the camera or not. And I have a task for you. I want you now to lift your hand corresponding to the letter in the 30th circle from top left. I can almost feel you counting, and some of you, probably none of you, have raised their hands, but maybe in the mind you try to try to solve the puzzle here, and some of you left and right. To be honest, I don't really know what is the right answer. I just wanted you to experience, like, there was a problem, you tried to think about it and solve it and started counting, but actually it's not really clearly solvable, because you didn't know whether you should 1 2 3 4 5 or 1 2 3 4 5, and then counting to 30 in this, like, completely disorienting pattern, more or less. It's not so easy. So in the live environment, I see like 50-50, left hands and right hands, and probably with you now as well. So let's try that again using a different system of thought. I want you to raise your hand, even if it's only in your mind, corresponding to the letter you think is right. And I know that feels so obvious, but that's exactly it. It's completely obvious. Like, everyone raises their left hand if I show this slide. I could have only given, like, raise your hand, L is for left, R is for right, and I show this slide, and everyone would instantly lift their left hand. And that's because, like, we are really good at pattern recognition. We recognize the pattern. This is not really a pattern, but we associate all these circles. It's one block, and there is this one circle which is inverted, and we directly focus our attention on it. It doesn't take time at all. We lift our hand. It doesn't take any kind of active thought at all. It's like milliseconds. But counting the circles, this takes seconds, and you're not really sure that you solved it. So it feels so obvious because it's so obvious, because we are so good at using system 1 to quickly solve problems. Then answer me something. Why do most interfaces, at least to digital products, look like this? We've all seen software that look like this, where we need to, like, focus on, concentrate on, like, orient ourselves, and try to find the right button, try to find the right solution. This is slow. And imagine a stressful situation, and where you have to count until 30. Yeah, you need to know the exact incantation to use that product. Why do we make it so hard to our users? And I know we can change that, yeah, because people are smart even when they are not, and we can be heroes as he as well, um, or she. But we can be heroes. We can use that to our advantage and to the advantage of our users. So how do we do that? Obviously, it's easy. Just create a tutorial. Just look at this 2-hour video to explain our easy to use product, and you're good to go. Yeah, of course, this is a joke. Tutorials are, yeah, if I would always say, like Steve said, if you see a stylus, they blew it, although they did one in the end. But I would say if you see a tutorial, probably they blew the design. A tutorial tries to explain beforehand. You need to focus on it. Again, system 2 all the way. You need time, you need attention, and then you need to remember all of that, go to the application or to the product and try to apply that. And I don't know how you feel. If I look at a tutorial, independently how long it is, like I forgot everything. 90% of what the tutorial tried to teach me, I forgot. Yeah, I just skip it and try to use it anyway. Yeah, no, we can be heroes, and it's a pretty straightforward way. We just need a couple of skills or a couple of ways to think about products. And I call this the triangle of heroism, to be heroes. And it's empathy, reality, visuality, and positivity. And what do I mean by that? Obviously, I need to explain a little bit. Again, today using system 2, but that's maybe more or less what I can do in a talk. Let's talk about empathy a little bit. Obviously, that empathy is a construct from or a word from psychology, where we try to think of how other people feel and think. And I come back to the circle of stupidity. And as designers and product designers and POs and developers, we need to empathize with our users, because we are not stuck in the circle of stupidity. We can build up experience. We know our products in and out by the time we finish them. We can have control over our context. Yeah, we can take our time. We can focus our attention. We can reduce cognitive costs. Yeah, reduce the amount of meetings that we have in a week and really focus on the tasks at hand. So all of our reality, of our shared reality as people building and influencing products, we live most of the time in system 2 because we have the time. But our users do not. So we need to feel for them and try to look at our products in a way that is not fueled by system 2 but system 1, in a quick and intuitive way. And because we are always looking like this, this is just an example from IKEA here, from a website, obviously, but that's what produces designs like this. Like thinking slow, thinking in system 2 produces something like that. How should any user make sense of that? What happens? No one reads that. No one knows what button to press. They just press the first thing that they hit, mostly maybe by accident, this or maybe the bottom, and then they say, oh no, I clicked on cookie settings again. You've probably all did this before. You click in like as an intuitive reaction, almost in self-defense. You tap or you click in self-defense, and then you say, oh no, I did it again, and you regret it, and then you go back and what? Okay, yeah, accept, whatever. So designing something like this, where you have to read a lot of text and you cannot really identify which is actually the button to dismiss. Yeah, you cannot even dismiss. You have only necessary here. But I would call this already a dark pattern, actually, because the accept all button is on top. It's maybe the easiest to reach by mouse. So actually, this is a dark pattern. I almost force my users, if they want to stay in system 1, to click on accept all, because otherwise they won't continue doing what they actually wanted, to go shopping at IKEA. And that's because we have a lot of empathy in our projects, and most of the time we have empathy for the machine. Yeah, we especially in digital product design and in digital products and development, if you work in these spaces, you know that we know how computers work, we know how servers work, we know about client and server interactions. We have read that Flexbox cheat sheet. We have learned the ins and outs of JavaScript and benefits of Python over Java, and which kind of framework is the fastest, and going into these minute details, understanding the machine to be able to build something with it. But what we lack is empathy for the user. We need more empathy for this circle of stupidity to look with fresh eyes onto our products. And one yeah, one example how to do that I'll come about in one of the next slides. So yeah, more empathy for our user. Let's continue with reality. And what I mean by that is just an easy frame of mind is show, don't tell. And in product design, most processes, like ping me if you recognize something like this. Most of the time, product design is really, really abstract. Yeah, we got a lot of meetings and we got a lot of brainstorms and we do these journeys and we do these maps and we do myros and we do fig jams and we are always, we are describing and we are collecting and we are organizing. And what this is everything of this is system 2. Like, it's deep thoughts, and I don't criticize that in general, but we focus so much on that and we spend a lot of time with that in some products. And I really loved the Taito example earlier of Vicky and Paul, and I enjoyed that because they went into, like, into the product directly and then they optimized, and I love that. And they didn't really get caught here in the preparation, because what happens if you're in the preparation is, in abstraction, it's really easy to agree on something while completely misunderstanding each other. You can spend months in preparation of a product or of an interface or of an idea, agreeing on everything, signing off on everything. You have the whole roadmap planned. And the first time you get something in your hands, you say, no, that's completely not what I thought. Yeah, because taking something into your hand, whether it's a mobile or using a product, a prototype, a first design, you get an instant gut reaction. That's system 1. You feel if it works or not. And it's not only the graphic design, you know, you get a feeling of, this could work possibly, or wow, this is awesome, I love how this is working, and how does this interact with A or B, you know. Taking something in your hand, having a prototype, and as close to the reality as possible. If you're quick in development, you can do the whole design process completely in reality, in the product space, building it directly, and not building it to be right, but building it in the knowledge that you will get some things wrong, but finding those mistakes quicker than discussing on this whiteboard level in this abstract way and agreeing all the time and saying, oh yeah, I love that, wow, feels great in my head. But now you've got it in your hand and you can say, okay, this works, this is awesome, but this, we need to work on that. So show, don't tell means avoid this abstraction and fail without fear. And that's what I think is essential here. I think we do this planning and overthinking it and using system 2 because we are afraid of designing something without having the full picture. Because when we design and not knowing everything, the design will probably be wrong. But that's not a bug, it's a feature. You know, discovering these mistakes, which are not really mistakes, but just maybe wrong hypotheses, yeah, discovering them early and quickly means we can optimize on them, improve on them. Yeah. So that's reality, show, don't tell. Next part is visuality, which is show, don't tell part 2. And that means, how can we show something to the user? You all have seen dialogues that like this, more or less, yeah. And they are really, really horrible. Yeah, it's more or less the IKEA example, but in a different environment. Let me say, if users are faced with dialogues like this, and they are all the time in all digital products all across the world, they need to stop, because what if I tap wrong? You know, the worst offense here is obviously to have cancel on the right and continue somewhere in the middle, and maybe even another option. Yeah, 3 options. I cannot recognize anything as a button. Where do I even have the opportunity to interact here? A couple of weeks ago, I've interacted with an SAP interface where continue and cancel change places all the time from screen to screen. Yeah, I've got this flow, and then it was on the right, and then it was on the left. And when you canceled, you lost your data, obviously, without no recurse to go back. So you needed to really use system 2 again, really slow, really deliberate. Okay, don't misclick. Yeah. But we can make it so easier if we just show, if we build things using anchors, using empathy for system one. Yeah, we can use colors, not only colors, but we can use colors. Most people can see colors. To visualize what is an destructive action or a cancellation or a continuation. We can use glyphs or icons to show that. We can use positions. If we read from left to right, we can put continue to the right and cancel or back to the left and really space them apart, to avoid misclicks. I don't need to read this. If I know I want to continue, I just hit on the green button on the bottom right, which I can recognize on the bottom. And this is such an easy example, but we can see that everywhere. What is the primary interaction? Do I recognize it as an interaction? And can I click on it before even thinking about it? Can I use system one to quickly find it and click on it? And that's what I mentioned earlier. As designers, obviously we are in system two, but we need to try it out and ask ourselves, if I would tap intuitively without thinking on it, what would happen? And if the answer is not, that's what I want to happen, that's the primary action here, yeah, that's what I want in most cases, then something is wrong with the interface. You need to maybe think about that. How can I visualize the flow or guide the attention of the user in a way that they tap it without thinking it and don't regret tapping the button? Because that allows your users to think fast and feel smart, and everyone likes to feel smart, obviously, like flying through the product, flying through the interfaces. Well, that worked a breeze, that happens when you could use system one. Sorry. And last but not least, positivity, which I try to embrace in many areas, but also in developing products, especially digital products. And probably a few of you have heard about optimistic UI and optimistic development. I don't want to talk that through pretty much, because for me, at least, optimistic UI, if you haven't heard of it, read about it, but I think it's the baseline how we should develop now. Just a quick reminder, when we interact with something, we should not freeze the whole world, freeze the whole screen and let the user wait and say, okay, just take a second. This is empathy for the machine. Obviously, client-server interactions take some time. So just lock everything, and disallow any kind of interaction. This is not good UI. Again, cognitive costs. I lose my train of thought. I need to pause, and maybe and people don't pause and look on this. They will focus their attention directly on something more interesting, and then they come back and they need to reorient themselves. So actually, positive optimistic UI means I tap on something, it loads instantly because I know what happens after that. And if there is some data or some part of it which I need to wait on, yeah, we use a skeleton, or we need a tiny preloader to say, okay, this will take some time. Give us a second. But the interaction was followed by an immediate reaction, and so I don't lose my train of thought. But I want to go one level further and say, design as if your product works. And if I talk to developers, most of them laugh a little bit, because obviously we have empathy for the machine. We know the problems, but we should design products as if they work. What do I mean by that? Imagine using your mail software, and imagine sending a mail, and once you send it, this pops up. Message sent. I'm so glad. Yay, aren't you? Okay, I guess. Every time you send an email, you would go mental. You would change that in after 2 emails. You would say, this is a joke, right? Because get out of my way, right? What happens in mail software, most of the time, if you mute your device, you don't get any kind of positive feedback at all. The email you just composed just vanishes. And you trust the software to send it because you are, in your experience, most of the time it works. So don't think about it. It's gone. It's from your mind. You already forgot what you wrote by the second you push that command D or send email. And obviously on the Mac, or you got this little this swoosh sound. If you have sound on, maybe this is not really disruptive. It's a little additional feedback, but it's not getting in your way. Obviously, you can take a look in the outbox, and if you want to really take sure, but most of the time you don't do that. But if it doesn't work, we can go into this state. We can reopen the email and say, I'm sorry, we were not able to interact. Yeah, if we were not able to send, the save operation didn't work out. Your data was not lost. Here it is. Can you try again? Or maybe there's an error code. Can I call support or whatever? But in a success state, if I say, okay, book it, save it, do you really need to like pick up the big guns and like celebrate it? No. If users use it often, you shouldn't. Like, don't fill the screen with a lot of success toasts, for example, which I really don't like, because they obscure the view, and again, get in my way. I don't have time. Yeah, I need to focus on something else. So that's all I wanted to talk to you about. How we can be heroes in developing and designing products that get out of the way quicker. So we can be, yeah. This was really tiring for him, so he went to sleep. Maybe to wrap that up, yeah, design your product to be used and put away as fast as possible, which is maybe a bit unintuitive, but as fast as possible, because this will make your users feel smart and good about themselves. Because using products is actually not important. People are. Using anything is not important. People and their goals and their hopes and their wishes are. And if we get away as fast as possible, we take them and their time seriously and their attention. So thank you all very much, even while not seeing you. Greetings from Cologne to wherever you are. Thank you for your attention and your System 2, hopefully. And I hope some for the System 1 as well. If you want to hear more, we got a couple of maybe interesting episodes on Besser mit Design, which is mostly German podcast, but we have a couple of English interviews with designers and a couple of topics there as well. If you want to know more about me, there we are. Thank you so much.
Well, geez, thank you, Chris. It's so fascinating to talk about, the science of things, through data or through a data lens. But when you start talking about the psychology of it, it really adds like a real human level to it that we don't necessarily always get from just data. When we're just looking at numbers or something, it can kind of take the human feeling out of it. And in the moment you broke out System 1 and System 2, I went, oh crap, I've been solving problems from like System 2 for so long, and I wish I was coming into it from System 1.
We have to, like, computers are all System 2. They don't know anything about System 1. Like, AI does not know anything about System 1. They are all like deterministic, like structured, take your time, like calculating. They are, so to be able to do anything digitally, you need to have that empathy, and we focused on that over the last decades. We needed, our first focus was just to get the stuff working, right? So we need to really dig deep there. That's what we learned. That's what we focused on. That's what we learned at university as well. So imagine me like coming from psychology and knowing like people are really, really difficult. It's like computers are pretty easy, right? Like they're straightforward. There's a 0 and there's a 1, and if I repeat that, it's always the same. If this, then that, right? But people are not if this, then that. If you repeat that, they always, like, people are strange at some time, and they're really entertaining. And I love obviously working and thinking about people, working with people, and I think it's interesting now that I think mostly getting stuff done is more or less solved. We have like thousands of ways to get our apps, our products working, and it's easier than ever to build digital products. So we can now start off not only thinking how do I get it done, but actually how is it getting used, and trying to get in those shoes,
space, right? I know that that for me in particular, we do work in a vacuum of sorts, and I, my academic background is actually in international economics, and so economics is, in my mind, for what it's worth, is innately flawed, in the sense that like we all act rationally, right? That's the whole supply and demand curve. Well, of course, that's the model, right? We all make, great decisions, but it's like, no, we don't make those decisions all the time. We're sometimes making them from like a panicked brain, and sometimes we're doing it from like a calm brain.
That's
And now, how do we get ourselves in that headspace?
I love that you bring up economics, because more or less it's pretty much in parallel
Yeah.
to computer sciences, because
Yep.
economists, as you said, they say everything is deterministic as well, everything is
Mhm.
rational, people are predictable. Darn, first
Nope.
error right there, but in huge numbers, maybe sometimes, yeah, but that's why no one predicted the success of the iPhone, because it was just not competing, it was too expensive,
Well,
you
Steve
every
Jobs did.
mod.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah, because he wasn't an economist. Yeah, he like was interested in liberal arts and everything. He was more or less interested in a lot of stuff. But um, yeah, how do we get in that headspace? Maybe like the sociologists and a couple of sociology analysts even predicted, well, this looks really compelling, and it looks really like sexy
yeah.
tech, the iPhone. And they said this is going to be probably be huge, and they said it. The economist said, no, this won't work, it's too expensive, no one wants that, and they did. So listening to other oracles, I would say, and maybe and trying to teach ourselves a little bit more, like, we understand the machine, that's done, okay,
Yeah.
let's try to understand the people a bit more, and yeah,
You
that's the best thing I can recommend, I think.
you don't realize it, but you just described my whole undergraduate years right there as an economist major, but a comparative sociologist minor.
Oh,
Like I was
wow.
pulled
Oh,
from different
wow, two minds,
angles.
you know.
Yeah, so like
How did you
writing.
survive that?
Oh, well, my dissertation was something weird, in terms of like voting with your dollar type things,
Mm, mm,
because you can act rationally, but at the same time, there's
mm.
a whole emotional,
Yeah.
aspect to the marketplace too. And so, how do you get people, to be, to like vote in a sense by like
Hmm.
handing
Hmm.
over, dollars as ballots? Boy, you're taking me back like 25 years or so. I love that. But geez, like I know we're going to talk about we're going to bring Kevin back up here on the
Okay.
panel real soon, but before we do that, I did want to ask you real quick, because you talked about, we can be heroes, and
Hmm.
then you talk about the whole idea that like, we that like some, sociology, like thought up this space in advance.
Mm.
Well, it made me think instantly of David Bowie. Obviously, we can be heroes, right? And I mean,
Just
David
for one
Bowie
day.
has a pretty famous interview where he predicts the internet of
Oh,
of
wow.
of sorts.
Hmm.
I'll have to find that somewhere and post it,
Mm.
because it is, if you listen to him like talking about this thing in the mid '90s, you go, is he talking about this
Huh.
today in 2024? Because that
Mm.
is spot on,
Mm.
and yet you could tell that a person even like that could get in that headspace, and start to
Yeah.
predict how people would even behave online, and how that would bring people together. So I
Like,
think that what you're
obviously
talking about is
that's
fascinating.
like end game, not
Yeah,
everyone can see the future, but obviously he could, because otherwise he wouldn't be able to do such awesome music and
I
predict
know, right?
probably his own success. But that's tough to compare with, and
Yes.
not every you don't need to aim that high. I think, like, even understanding today and asking these questions today and trying to find out what do people like. We heard it before, like, even from Kevin. I thought that was really interesting. Like, I loved when, maybe we can talk about that. I don't know if Kevin hears me now, but I loved how they were forced, because of these economical realities, they were forced to make the research at actual events where customers were using the apps. And I love that, because um, you you viewing customers in their natural habitat, let's say, not in this simulated controlled environment. In psychology, that's all the time. There are these experiments where you are in university, and you invite people and you pay them for your studies. This is
Yeah.
completely invalid most of the time, because it's really hard to create environments where people behave naturally, other than their nature, their normal environments. And if you can have the chance to view and talk, not only talk, but view your actual users using products and software, it's the most insight you will ever glean, especially if they don't know that you're watching them. That's but
You
sometimes that's not ethical. So yeah, you need to find that out.